Okay, so continued conversation about crypto asset mining, Bitcoin mining in particular. Just did a video about Epic Blockchain. I worked there in the past and what the team has been able to achieve today and in the alternative coin mining space. On the Bitcoin mining space, the opportunity that I've been chasing for a solid 18 months has been looking at stranded natural gas, liability natural gas, in particular in Alberta, where getting the natural gas that comes off the wellhead of oil rigs is particularly cumbersome. A bunch of political reasons for that, some straight up engineering reasons for that, and then there's the macro economic environment of the commodities that are oil and gas, in particular bitumen-based oil and gas from the oil sands of Alberta. They're both more expensive than they are to the comparables of Saudi sweet and Texas sweet and West Texas bent and all that kind of stuff. Bitumen from the oil sands is more expensive. And the regulations around natural gas, in particular carbon taxes and venting penalties and things like that, make operating in Alberta more expensive, and therefore those commodities have lower margins. And as we are here in June of 2020, we've had a massive oil price crash in the last month or two, which further distressed the already distressed Alberta oil sands industry. I've been looking at for 18 months, but converting that natural gas into electricity at the wellhead or midstream or even downstream is an economic opportunity that makes tons of sense to that industry of the crypto asset mining industry, the Bitcoin mining industry. We're looking for inexpensive electrical input. The core of the we have two things that we need to buy: electricity and mining equipment. Mining equipment's a pretty straight up, that's a capital asset. We buy it. Hopefully it runs for 4 years. You'd appreciate it over the 4 years. And you produce a pretty good profit off that. The number one driver of whether or not you're able to produce, two drivers of profit off that machine: price of Bitcoin or whatever other asset we might be mining, but typically Bitcoin, and the cost of the electricity input. And the electricity input is 90% plus of the operating expense of a crypto mining business. And one of the cheapest ways to generate that electricity is with natural gas. And usually the premium of expense of natural gas before being converted into electricity is the transfer rate. So moving it through the pipeline and the grids and whatnot, and the taxes and other fees that are associated with that. If you do that quote unquote behind the fence at the wellhead, you get rid of the gas in an efficient way, in the least amount of carbon footprint way. It doesn't get rid of the carbon footprint, but to get rid of the carbon footprint, you need to stop the oil and gas industry. That is a controversial topic I have very little opinion on. The gas is being produced. Let's turn it into the most productive possible thing. In my view, the most productive possible thing in that particular scenario is a Bitcoin. Two aspects of that. A, we will pay for the gas. We will pay at the wellhead for the gas, which creates the least amount of capital expense for the oil and gas operator to get rid of that gas. They don't have to store it. They don't have to transmit. They don't have to transport it. Pretty much, we stick the pipe at the wellhead, suck the gas, convert it into electricity. It requires a small footprint of land, of which typically that's not an expensive asset in the environments. And so taking that gas, converting it into electricity on site allows us to convert to Bitcoin. and pay a reasonable price for the gas. Cheaper the price, the better, but that gas typically is a liability to those oil and gas operators to move out. And the only reason it's not a complete and utter liability is the global spot market price for gas contracts. This is an opportunity to arbitrage that. The liquid market and contract market around Bitcoin is not as deep and is not as liquid as the gas market is, but it is nevertheless a $150 billion instantly settled, high transaction throughput marketplace with all kinds of financial instruments that are popping up, like options contracts and swap contracts around that industry. So there's a bunch of ways to do financial arbitrage, and there's the operational on the ground arbitrage of taking the gas directly into a productive output with a customer that's willing to pay for it, and as well as also interested in partnering around it. The best way to export that gas as a financial commodity is in a Bitcoin. The fastest way I know how to get value from North America to China, Bitcoin. Why are you trying to get that gas on a pipeline out to Vancouver? In order to send it to China. If I could take all the infrastructure expenses out of that and achieve the same end, if I turn the gas into electricity and electricity into Bitcoins, I can send those Bitcoins to China and get a market price for it. And I can settle all that way cheaper. So I think that's a compelling opportunity, both for financial engineering, physical engineering, a way to add value and life back into the oil sands, which is an important part of the Canadian economy. I have friends in that industry, which I'm trying to help. So definitely looking for investors interested in this play, operators interested in this play. We have a number of options and ways to participate across different companies, vehicles, lots of ways to get exposure and be creative with it. And so I'm more than happy to educate you further on how this stuff works, and get you in front of the experts and the operators who are running those businesses and creating those products. With that, happy, beautiful Tuesday, and look forward to hearing from you in the comments.